So, update time. I have been working on the solar system upgrades for probably the last, I don't know, I'm going to say 4 days. And I'm going to tell you right now, like, because my system, like, even after everything is, like, mounted and put in place, it does not look that complicated, which I think is a good thing. I remember when I first started investigating more of those solar systems, you know, people will just, you know, it's like, I don't know, they just open up those big bays on their RV, and you just see nothing but, like, equipment and wires, right? You see switches, and you see cutoffs, and you see, you know, inverters and charge controllers, and then you see the fuses and the distribution blocks and all that kind of stuff. Like, it just looks ridiculously complicated to me. And I never really understood why it looked so complicated. But, you know, maybe I was just too new to solar or something. But I don't, even now that I've got some experience, even now, I still don't think it has to be that complicated. I'm just going to go ahead and show you what I've got so far and explain what it is and what it does. So I'm going to try and keep this as beginner-friendly as possible for those of you that are just, you know, investigating some solar. I'm not done yet, but progress update incoming nonetheless. If you don't know what this area looks like before, watch any of my previous videos where I talk about what this bed, you know, actually functions as, so I don't want to go over it again. But essentially, this is where I keep storage, all right? And right here is where this drawer goes. I've got it pulled out so that I can show you down below it. I didn't want to waste the drawer because I had originally thought, okay, maybe I'll just mount the charge controller inside that drawer and then maybe drill a hole in the drawer box so that the PV wires can go out that hole and then up through the refrigerator vent and then up to the roof where the solar panels are at. But I decided against that because I still wanted access, you know, to that drawer. Like, that's good, valuable storage space, so I didn't want to just waste it. So what I ended up doing is I measured everything, and I found that I've got more than enough clearance underneath the drawer for the charge controller. Now, this is an EP Ever 40 amp charge controller. One of the things you're going to end up learning is that these solar charge controllers are rated for their output, not for the input. You could have, I don't know, 60 amps total coming in, and the solar charge controller will just, you know, because this is a 40 amp, it won't be able to use all 60 amps of the input. Let's just say you ran all your solar panels in parallel, and you were combining all of the amperage from the solar panels. Well, the solar charge controller is rated for the output. So this is a 40 amp solar charge controller, so those are only going to be 40 amps coming out of it and then putting it into my batteries. So that brings me to the next thing. These are the batteries I had. I was originally going to lay them flat, but it would have went all the way across here, and I really wanted to preserve this storage space. So then I built this board that has like a small channel in there so that I could run the main out behind there, and I did the same thing over here on the negative side as well. So the negative and the positive, both the excess wire lives behind here. Alright, this is the inverter, and I mounted it sideways again to maximize space. So I still have some airflow, an airflow channel back here, and I've also got airflow underneath of the inverter. So air can get underneath, it can get all around all of these components. So I've got the main negative and positive terminals coming off the batteries, and obviously going to the inverter so that I can take that 12 volt power and convert it into 124 volt power. Now this, y'all are probably wondering what this pigtail is. Well, this is some excess wire from the cable that came with the main plug on this camper. So I just cut a hank of it off. I ordered this 30 amp plug off of Amazon, wired it just like I was supposed to, and this particular inverter actually has an AC terminal on the front, and that AC terminal is like for permanent installations, right? So they do have two 120 volt plugs, but I think these are only rated for 15 amps a piece. This will output the full amp rating of the inverter, so that I could wire this up with this 30 amp plug, so I could just plug in the whole camper into this plug and have the whole thing running off this 3000 watt pure sine wave inverter. I really liked having the 30 amp plug on the front of my Energy Kodiak. I really did. I absolutely loved it. And so that's what I was trying to recreate. Now granted, I don't have as many AC outlets. I have no 12 volt outlets, and I have USBs and these proprietary 12 volt plugs, but this was the main thing I wanted. As long as I can plug the RV into the 30 amp plug, I can run this whole camper. Like, I've gotten this camper down so efficiently. Everything is LED, everything is low power draw, except, save for that vacuum cleaner, that space heater, and that AC unit. Everything else in this entire place can be run almost indefinitely on the amount of power that I've got going into these batteries. I want to simplify, if I can, for most people, what a solar system entails. It's only 4 components, really. Now, you can get more technical and you can expound on the system in order to increase safety, to increase efficiency, and that kind of thing. And you'll learn that if you decide to do a DIY install yourself. But a solar system is only 4 components. You have your solar panels, however many that's going to be, the solar charge controller, your batteries, and then an inverter. That's pretty much it. Those are the 4 components. And it can be as big and as elaborate as you want it to be, or it can be as small and as simple as you need it to be. And the problem with this particular camper is that these travel trailers by Avion and Airstream and Silver Streak and all of those types, they were made to be very space efficient. And they almost had to be because of the curvature of the camper. So I decided to use the wheel well compartment underneath this bed, and I basically had to work with what I had. I didn't want to lose all of this storage space. You know, where some people have those, you know, ginormous fifth wheels. They've got plenty of storage, but they also have to carry all the weight of one of those big ass fifth wheels. So I tried to be as space efficient as possible. You know, solar panels coming in. I've got the PV wire coming through that hole. It goes right to the charge controller. The charge controller dumps as much energy as it's pulling in into these batteries. And the batteries are dumping whatever energy the inverter requests of it. And I've pigtailed the inverter so that I can just plug up the whole camper and be on my way. Wiring is going to be really expensive if you decide to run all of your panels in parallel. So I've now run them in series parallel groups up there. Right now I've got 600 watts, and I've got 2 sets or 3 sets of 2 panels each. So I've doubled the voltage, and I'm going to tell you all right now, if you're planning on building a solar system, run series pairs. I cannot get over how much extra power you get from series pairs. Not to mention the amount of current that's coming from way up there on that long-ass wire. I'll show you real quick. All right, I hope this is showing up, but I am bringing in 34.7 volts, and I'm bringing in 7.6 amps. That's a very low amperage draw, so 10 gauge wire is going to be able to handle that just fine. But I'm bringing in, off the charge controller, 21.1 amps. So I'm bringing in triple the amount from the solar panels off the back end of the solar charge controller. So I've got less amperage coming off the solar panels, which means I don't have to run as big of wire and bigger wire for a longer distance. So that saves me a lot of money right there. And now I've got a higher amperage coming off the back end of the solar charge controller. And I do have to use bigger wire for those higher amperages. Like during the day, I'm getting about 40 to 45 amps. So I've got a much bigger wire, a 4-gauge wire coming off the solar charge controller and into the batteries. But that's only a distance of maybe, let's just say 12 inches. 12 inches at 4-gauge wire is a hell of a lot better than 25 feet coming from way up there all the way down here in 4-gauge wire. Anyway, this is all starting to sound more complicated than I wanted it to be. So I hope that whoever I'm talking to, you've got a basic understanding of solar. But I am always open to answering questions. I have learned so much about electricity than I ever thought that I wanted to. And it really isn't until you start getting... Like, I could explain this stuff a million times. I really could. But you won't ever truly get it until you start building your own system. I mean, as they always say, experience is the best teacher. And in this particular case, they're 100% right. Ladies, I know you all watch my channel. You all should get in there and learn it too. Don't let those boys have all the fun. Because if you ever had to service your solar system and, the guys were away or whatever, this is not that hard. So if you guys have questions, or girls, if y'all have questions, like, I make myself available all the time. As long as you're nice, I will answer any questions you all happen to have. I will do one-on-ones with you all. I will help out as much as I possibly can. I will give you my best advice. And I'm really well researched. Like, I don't just, if I don't know the answer to a question, I won't just blurt something out. I will go and research it first and then come back and tell you all. But these solar systems are not that hard. If you're planning to install one on your camper, do it. It's worth it. Especially if you plan to do a lot of off-grid boondocking. If you want to get to places that the vast majority of the RVing community cannot go, you're going to want to install a solar system in your camper. It's a no-brainer. And the vast amount of your cost will all be up front, but it will pay dividends. I'm telling you. It will make it worth it for you, especially if you want to do this full-time. If you're already doing it full-time, get out there and do it. Buy a solar system. You need it. And if you have any questions, I will totally try and help you all out the best way I know how. At any rate, guys, I just want to give you all a quick update on what I've been going and doing on my solar system. If you guys have any questions, drop them down in the comment section below or get in contact with me over on Instagram. At any rate, thanks again for watching yet another riveting episode here on the Avion Awesome channel. I'm your host, Mark Puckett, and I'm going to see you guys again on the next one. Peace.